Effective self-organized team traits, models of collaboration, developed by Sriram Rajagopalan for Agile Training Champions. In the earlier sessions, we introduced the specific business challenges faced by today's organizations. We uncovered the dynamics of the role changes within flatter organizational structures and the evolving agile trends in product and project management. Subsequently, we exposed the trends in what the clients expect to see in the client-facing roles. These shifts in the business landscape was then interrelated with the growing virtual and distributed environment in a global workforce where generational gaps and geographical cultures influenced preferences to individual thinking and group cohesiveness. We provided a few examples of how challenges become noticeable. Now we will review teams' challenges. Reviewing the spectrum of strengths and challenges that make up the workforce in today's team environment, some patterns evolve that need to be addressed at the root levels. These patterns are not necessarily stated in any preferential order, but any member of the middle management must consciously become attuned to understanding these elements so that the team operates effectively. Let's face it, change is the only constant. It can manifest in many ways in how we approach work and if the team members are willing to accept and adapt to change. In the Disney movie 8 Below, inspired by a true story, 8 dogs were stranded in Antarctica and their life changed from being cared to adapting themselves to care for each other. The lessons that we learn from the strategies they unleashed to feed themselves, take care of the wounded, and hang together are examples of how the teams should adapt to change. Many experts agree that 80% of the project management is all about communication. Little do many realize, however, that collaboration builds on effective communication. If communication is about maintaining the status quo, then collaboration is about challenging the status quo. Remember the famous quote of, "Hey, Houston, we have got a problem here," from James Lowell Jr., captured vividly in the movie Apollo 13. That communication set a chain reaction with the workforce on the Earth. The team on Earth stopped at nothing to understand the operating conditions of the spacecraft and devise a means to conserve oxygen to get the astronauts back to Earth. This practical example illustrates the team's willingness to go beyond just hearing the statement and solving a difficult problem when held accountable. Time was running out, and the team's focus was no longer on individual goals but on collective group's success to ensure that the project's progress is always healthy. We can wish for a magic pill that can enhance people's productivity to the fullest as portrayed in the movie Limitless. In reality, there is a limit on how much one can be productive. A team leader has to understand what skills people bring to the table and what their career interests are. By relating the team's agenda to the individual's needs, one can unleash the maximum out of anyone. Agile recommends time boxing techniques which are not uncommon. In practical life, we time box tasks and do what we can when we can. For instance, if getting an oil change for a car may take 1 hour, and if 1 hour is available to take off during a commute to work, we take care of it, but not during a time when there is another meeting that may be missed if the oil change took more time. Match the skill to the worker, and enhance the competency of the worker to take more. But when the team is not adequately formed and stormed with clearly outlined roles and responsibilities, as Bruce Tuckerman says, then the challenges rise up. Let's look at some examples. Project team challenges. In a traditional setting, there will frequently be a project manager and an account manager. The project manager will be internally focused to work with the team to deliver on the scope of work within budget and on time. The account manager will be client-oriented, representing the voice of the customer, accountable for financial profitability and client satisfaction. An account manager may have business justification, but either has not translated that business need to the team or balanced the customer's needs with the organizational constraints when changes are required. In such cases, a project manager may refer to the service level agreement or standard operating procedures on why some processes can't be skipped without introducing risk, or why some work packages can't be accelerated without consulting impact on quality or other projects. An account manager may refer to the competitive trends requiring the need to do things differently, but the project manager may fail to relate to these trends because they may transcend into product development and platform enhancements and may not be within the purview of the organizational project management framework. Bringing structure to chaos through fairly well-known high-tech processes like project prioritization, governance, process documentation, change control board, training, and streamlined workflow will often address some of these challenges, but not all the challenges can be addressed without high-touch collaboration. Agile team challenges. Now let's switch our attention to the agile teams. For an agile team to succeed, there needs to be a self-organized team. An important ingredient of this self-organization is that the teams are not heavily managed or directed, but should be formed more organically to meet the business needs. The business needs revolve around the product owner that represents the customer, stakeholders, and users. When the product owner doesn't relate to how the product is consumed in the organization or fails to properly assess the required stakeholders, friction evolves. Ken Schwaber, one of the founding members behind the Agile Manifesto, recounts the importance of the product owner in his book on Agile project management with Scrum. He identifies and prioritizes features that adds more business value than cost of implementation, says Ken Schwaber. Due to the inherent nature of the technology focus with the Agile methodology, some product owners may take on an engineering focus, prioritizing features that do not help in monetizing the product, raising questions for the team. As a result, the Agile coach or the Scrum Master, who should be different from the product owner, ensures that the agile processes are in check, tries to struggle and establish a delicate balance by protecting the team from consuming more than it can take, but at the same time also push the product owner to create a compelling product roadmap filled with features that the team can take on. When product owners are not properly trained, or the organizational culture not set up with the dedicated resources to work on agile projects, or the Scrum Master not skilled in balancing the team fatigue with the business needs, many disagreements bubble up for the agile team. These disagreements repeatedly lead to unnecessary escalations of disputes to the top management. Management dilemma, escalation. Management is now left to ponder. They often wonder why, with so many processes and policies on the do's and don'ts, there are so many concerns bubbling from the internal team members or clients. If tactical team needs support from management constantly, aren't we taking time away from their strategic thinking? As the popular saying goes, processes do not fail or succeed, but people do. In order for people to succeed, the genes of collaboration must be in their DNA. Discussions and conflict are good, so long as the resolution is towards a common goal. John Carter, known for his change leadership, summarizes in a Harvard Business Review article called Accelerate that when people must have a want to and get to mentality instead of a have to mentality, then the desire to be a change agent must be inside the person before their energy can be mobilized. It is no wonder Mahatma Gandhi, who led the India towards independence, said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." But how often are members of a team acting as change agents, balancing the business goals, customer needs, and team's constraints? Let us look at some of the models in which people ineffectively collaborate, leading to a lack of resolution, ample frustration, and eventually escalation. Models of inefficiency. The first model is rope pulling. Perhaps coming from the notion of the survival of the fittest, this approach is when two individuals begin disagreeing. The focus shifts from who is right or wrong to what the customer needs. This approach always leads to win-lose scenario because the person with the loudest voice, closest to the customer, or friendliest to the management wins. As Dale Carnegie pointed out in his book on how to win friends and influence people, the person convinced against the will holds the same opinion still, leading to trust erosion. The next model is the seesaw model. This is a guaranteed false positive. If both are agreeing, then there is no play. So no one often yields because the other is right, but the other fails to see the fruits of how the disagreement may yield to better process, an innovative solution, or a happy customer. This model is also where unfair credit may be taken by the person at the top because the other person at the bottom can't articulate an inner voice for the team. The next model is the remote teaming model. It is much more efficient. They are so great documenting the meeting minutes, updating wiki, emailing status reports, and following all the organizational processes. The fertile ground for disputes in this model is the cyberspace. There are documentation on IM chats, recordings of phone calls, and email traffic, yet no attempt to resolve conflicts when they arise. In today's distributed virtual team environment, this model is often seen with emails blind copied and the abuse of reply to all emails, letting the whole world watch how two members can't resolve their conflicts. Too often, as management intervenes, the battle is won for one team, but the war is lost on both sides. The other false positive model is too much participatory decision making. The challenge with this model is that no one knows the actual scope of work. The business owner, product owner, functional resource manager, account manager, project manager, and team leader work together to chime in to decide what should be done. Lack of vision on the part of any one of these owners lead the team frustrations. where everyone decides what the solution should be, but no one knows how it will be measured or what the customer may want. This is analogous to the Indian fable where four blind children touch the leg, trunk, body and tail of an elephant and deciding by their feel what an elephant looks like. These inefficient operating models of collaboration only leads to too much redundant work for the team, leading to low morale and productivity loss. The trapeze model. Many of you might have seen the trapeze in circus events. The swinging trapeze is when the artists began using their body to swing the bars, gaining momentum. Controlling the bar's movement with their body, high above the ground, the artists perform many moves like releasing the bar to latch on to another bar and sometimes catching another's hand. Why does this model work for the team? Because it is built on trust, orientation towards process, focus on team and client, and drive for results. As the artists sway in a pendulum-like motion, there is non-verbal communication that they exchange, allowing one to release the bar and turn. The expectation that the other bar would be released on time to latch on or the other person to catch you would also be in the right place at the right time is the trust, which is rarely misplaced. This trust evolves from intense practices where they try, fail, and reattempt. Their orientation towards process is impeccable. Smiling and pausing for photographs, they follow the order. In the chaos above the ground can be seen a control in the structure of how people release the bars, how they rotate to take positions, or a question when who is going to act or master the catch. Because they know that a misstep in the sequence is a failure of the show. The applause or the scream from the audience never takes any artist's focus away from the need to support the performing team. They live in their mythical world, passionately focused on the results to ensure they orchestrate to the anticipated tune. With practice, they develop endurance, strength, and flexibility that are well put to use as they focus on ensuring perfect communication, perfect sequencing, and perfect adaptation to situations on the pedestal high above the ground. Now, one may ask, what are some of the unique features on how it works or why it works? In the compilation of several Harvard Business Review articles on how teams click, Jim Billington emphasizes the 3 C's of effective team. These are commitment, competence, and common goal. Let me repeat it. These are commitment, competence, and common goal. The trapeze team has a shared commitment to the achievement. They commit themselves to the success and hold each other accountable because they see that in order for one to win, everyone must win. The collective team's goals precedes individual performance agenda. For the show to succeed, they repeatedly practice. The competence is evident in how they keep themselves fit. They don't hold past performance to compromise their practice before the next show. Reflection. As you look at this model, let us pause to reflect on the following questions in your role. How do I facilitate getting the job done? Do you feel like you have a role or a job? What have you done to take the project in your hands? How have you understood from a client's perspective what your contribution meant to the client? What have I done to establish credibility? What have I done to differently build and ensure quality? What makes others reach out to you? Team collaboration is a joint effort. Leveraging on a project lesson of upgrading to the distributive control system within the Department of Energy by Robert Gohle, collaboration is a merger of joint effort. There are a number of lessons that many projects that have taught us that can extend to collaboration. One just have to think closer. Jerry Wildman elaborates on 8 great tips of successful project teams on how they improve project performance. These are worth looking into. Number 1. Nurture a shared vision of what is to be accomplished. We can do this by establishing clear roles and developing the objectives together to foster buy-in. Number 2. Translate that vision into a coherent set of performance specifications. We can do this by translating the overall vision into specific actionable agenda. This can go into balanced scorecards or any other mechanism of measurement. We should discuss commitments, their availability, updates, process checks in a frequent manner. Number 3. Have an integrated plan for accomplishing the purpose. We should do this by deciding on the deliverables for the project. Let's remember the friends: what, when, who, how, and why. Also, let's put specific measurements on how we measure success. Number 4. Measure their performance against the plan and their progress towards the requirements. Synchronous and asynchronous touch base on statuses are very important. This is even more important for people that are remote. Act as each other's eyes. Don't just see what you want to see, but see what the other person did not see. Number 5. Allow for uncertainty. Be flexible. Identify the risks and proactively prepare for them. Discuss the risks and the mitigation plan required. Proactively identify slips. One can do this by looking at the critical path. Number 6. Manage change. Identifying slips proactively is good, but having a plan to manage change is equally important. Monitor change with the client and the internal teams. Change occurs everywhere. Should that be built? Should that not be built? These are questions that one has to reflect. Number 7. Continually act to influence their future. Think outside the box. Clients are reasonable and understanding. Think laterally to influence. Number 8. Over-communicate. Understand various means to communicate and use all avenues as possible. Even if it is common sense, communicate. Journey milestone. Henry Ford once said, "Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success." Working together requires a commitment for team members to see the importance of each role and work towards the common goal by building individual competence and building credibility in due course. In the next session, we will delve deeper into 6 essential habits that a team should develop to succeed.